Well, it seems that Netanyahu has been forming close diplomatic relations with far-right nationalists around the world, and thus exposing the Jewish diaspora to increasing anti-Semitism and hate crimes in their own countries. In your opinion, do you agree with this analysis, and which do you think the most worrying relationships are that Netanyahu has formed?
Well, I don't agree that there has been a marginal increase in anti-Semitism because Trump and the ultra-right has let loose the crazies. Uh, the main targets, obviously, of Trump, the main targets are Muslims and Mexicans, vulnerable minorities. He would not go after Jews, first of all, because his whole milieu is Jews. Remember, he was a New York city real estate developer. That's all Jewish. He was an odd aberration in the New York scene. His son-in-law is Jewish, Jared Kushner, the twit. And it's not politically a wise thing to go after Jews. Too much power, too much influence, too integrated into our ruling elites. You take Bill Clinton, Hillary, who's the apple of their eye? Chelsea. Who does Chelsea marry? They only have one child, Chelsea, a Jew. Who's the apple of Trump's eye? Obviously, Ivanka, his daughter, or Ivana. Ivanka, I already forgot now. Who does she marry? A Jew. Jews are completely integrated into our ruling elites at the political level, economic level, social level. So you don't go after them. That's insanity. And Trump is, well, at some level he's insane, but not that level. So they're not going to be, but you're letting loose the crazies. And in the margins, there are the lunatics who still think the Rothschilds control the world. Well, I probably have more money now than many Rothschilds. They're just marginal. They're marginal in the world economic picture. If you look at the richest, the Forbes 500, there are no Rothschilds on it, but they're the wackos. So I don't think that's a serious problem. What is interesting, from my point of view, is a question was asked by probably the world's leading authority on fascism. His name is Zev Sternhau. He's an Israeli professor. And he raised the question rhetorically of why are all these alt-right leaders so attracted to Israel? Because they are anti-Semitic. That kind of comes with the turf of being alt-right. So why are they so enamored of Israel? And his answer was actually very revealing. He said because they don't see the Israelis as Jewish. And that's true. They see them as white Ubermenschen, like the alt-right everywhere, the white supermen, Nordics. And there's a lot of truth to that. Israelis are not Jewish. I'm not saying that to be contrary or to be deliberately provocative or incendiary. They're not Jewish. They don't conform to the historical type of a Jew. If you look at the historical type of a Jew, it's someone like Franz Kafka with the big ears, or a Woody Allen with the horn-rimmed glasses. Or an Einstein. That's a type. That's the historical type. There's a multi-volume history written by the British historian Arnold Toynbee. It's called A Study of History. He has some interesting comments about Jews and Israel. And he says that Israel has created a new physical type of Jew. And I think that's true. And Israel has created also a new moral type of Jew. And you see it very vividly. In the United States, Jews are overwhelmingly anti-Trump. There's about 20% who support him, but it's overwhelmingly anti-Trump. There are only two countries in the world that have been polled and show that they support Trump. I think Liberia probably has a very strange media.
Yeah.
And Israel. Israel is overwhelmingly pro-Trump, not the state, the country, the people. They're a totally different type. And I think American Jews in particular are now discovering that Israel is not Jewish. It's not Jewish in any sense the Jews have ever understood being Jewish. Means being uh, progressive, uh, kind of pacifist, and liberal, well, progressive, liberal, pacifist, uh, and not like, you have to be honest about these things. And I'm not, again, trying to be rhetorical, I'm trying to be objective. Israel's a nation of murderers. Now, why do I say that? Because at some level, Israel is, at some level, it's a very egalitarian society. Everybody serves in the army. Everyone serves. There are the marginal exceptions, which I'm sure you know, but it's a citizen army. Now, this citizen army has periodically been involved in massacres of civilian populations, whether it's Gaza every 2 or 3 years, whether it's Lebanon every 5 or 10 years. And it's been involved now for over a half century in this occupation, the essence of which is to dispossess and dehumanize the indigenous population. Everybody's been involved in that. Every single Israeli has been at a checkpoint, has raided a Palestinian home at night, has tortured a Palestinian child, has killed a Palestinian. That comes with being a citizen army in a country in a 50-year-long occupation punctuated by periodic massacres of the civilian population. It's a country of murderers. And I think for American Jews or Jews in the so-called diaspora, it's very hard to relate to that. I'll give you an example. I'm speaking for myself. I read the human rights reports, some of which are of very high quality. You take the case of the last UN report on Gaza, the Gaza March of Return, and it says, it has this seemingly endless list of Palestinian children, medics, journalists, and disabled people who are being targeted by the snipers, doing absolutely nothing. Some of them are just sitting under a tree 300 meters from the fence, the so-called fence, being murdered. And even me at this late stage, having devoted since 1982, so it's about 40 years now, devoted my entire adult life to reading all of these reports. Even I still, to this day, to this minute, because I'm working on a book right now, I find it very difficult to digest that Israel systematically, methodically, calmly, its soldiers murder kids, murder children. It's like, okay, Germans do that, For Jews, it's very hard for me, not emotionally, intellectually. I find it just very hard to mentally assimilate because it's a totally alien country. It's not Jews. It's not. I mean, the most fundamental fact about Israel and trying to understand it, the most fundamental fact It's not that it's a settler, colonialist, Zionist, imperialist, all those cliches, which are true, but they're still cliches. It's the fact that it's not Jewish. The moment you grasp that fact, and it's very hard to grasp because I can't do it even. The moment you grasp that fact that it's not Jewish, that's why the whole alt-right loves Israel. That's why Bolsonaro loves Israel, Orban loves Israel, they all love Israel. That's why Trump loves Israel, because they're not Jewish. Then you're on the right track to understanding what's going on. Then suddenly you're, oh my God, they're not Jewish. They're just white Superman, Ubermenschen, you know?
Right.
Then it's suddenly enlightened. You're enlightened.
Yeah. Yeah. We've gone a little bit over 45 minutes, but if you don't mind, I just have one question my editor wanted to ask about the two-state solution. Are you okay with time?
Yeah, but it's not going to be a question because I don't believe we should be discussing those things now.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing on, there's no political prospect of two-state, one state, no state, 10 states. It's not on the drawing board now. We have to, the basic lesson of Marx is we live in a world of economies of time. And we have to rationally allocate our time. There's a horrific, illegal, immoral, inhumane blockade of Gaza. You have to focus on what's possible. I think lifting the blockade of Gaza is a possibility. We have to focus on what's possible. There's nothing about two states or one state now. There's no discussion of it in the real political world. Nobody's talking about it. So why waste time? We can't. We have to be serious, especially at my age. My best friend just passed away a couple of weeks ago. So, I live on borrowed time. I'm not going to use the time that remains to me to debate non-issues.
Well, I've followed your work quite closely over the years. It seemed like before Trump was elected, you thought that the two-state solution was a prospect because of international law and the position that the UN takes. So would I be right to say then that you think that the election of Trump has been a major game changer and has shelved the two-state solution?
Absolutely. The game changers has been the Open Saudi alliance now with Israel. The fact that there's been a succession of humanitarian crises in the Middle East which have overshadowed the Palestinian question. The fact that there's a completely corrupt collaborationist leadership among the Palestinians, which is incapable of inspiring any sacrifice by Palestinians or inspiring people abroad. And there has been the fact that the struggle has died in the West Bank. There has not even been any political mobilization in the West Bank in support of Gaza. There's nothing. There is no resistance anymore. And as a result of all those factors, the two-state solution is that Trump will, depending on what happens in 2020, but if he loses, he'll be seen as a kind of eccentric aberration. And all of his decisions to recognize Israeli control over the Golan, to recognize Jerusalem, will all be forgotten as part of this kind of lunatic phase in American politics. So I don't think yet, if he wins in 2020, yes, there's a possibility it'll stick his decisions. But as of now, I don't attach much importance to that.
So even if Bernie Sanders, say, were to win in 2020 and you had Corbyn in number 10, you still think that would that change things, or you think that
it would infinitely strengthen the two-state settlement?
Right.
Corbyn and Bernie have been very firm on 2 points. Palestinians have rights. Those rights have to be respected, and they have to also actually be implemented. But number 2, it has to be done within the framework of 2 states. And Bernie and Jeremy have been very clear about that.
Yeah. That they support the two-state solution.
I'm unequivocal about that.
Yeah, right. You still think that this one state is sort of a leftist fantasy?
I don't see any political basis for it. Can you show me one country in the world that supports it? Can you show me one representative political institution that supports it? Can you show me one legal institution that supports it? Can you show me one major human rights organization that supports it? Can you show me, incidentally, one political party that supports it? I'm talking about leftist political parties. You know, my good young friend, Jamie Sternweiner, he went through the record of all the leftist parties in the European Parliament. No support, and none among any of them for one state. So what do you conclude from that? Are you going to tell me what some so-called radicals sitting in some seminar at LSE, that they trump the whole of organized political opinion from the left to the right end of the spectrum? That's not very plausible to me. I mean, that's about as plausible as when I was a Maoist in my youth, and I thought the next item on the agenda was the dictatorship of the proletariat in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It has as much connection with reality. These are posers, as the French say, and fantasists. It's nothing to do with politics.
Have you heard of Leah Tarachansky?
No.
No. Oh, okay. It's because she's actually from a settlement community within the West Bank.
I know her from the Real News, I think.
Yeah. I just, I don't know. It's strange to hear people like Ilan Pape and Gideon Levy and her, who are all Israelis, supporting a one-state solution, when it seems, as from what you're saying, that it's kind of not a mainstream thing at all.
Look, first of all, Gideon Levy and Ilan Pape would be the first to admit that they're not mainstream. So
That they're not what? Sorry.
mainstream.
Oh, okay.
So that's not the issue. The issue is, it's not what I'm saying, it's the question I'm asking. Where's the support for it? Is there, at this point in time, any likelihood that the consensus is going to radically shift in the near future or foreseeable future? I don't see evidence of it. I think, so for now, I see no basis. It's not a question of, politics is not like a baby shaking a rattle. This is what I want.
Right.
Politics is what you desire, for sure. It's aspirational, but it's always constrained by what's possible at the given moment. What's the most you can extract from the given moment that will bring you closer to the future that you aspire to. So I don't support two states. Actually, I don't support one state. I support no states. That's the future to which I aspire. I think it's the only rational future. We can't solve any of the problems confronting humanity today, beginning with climate change, within the framework of states or nation states, obviously. If Canada's polluting and Mexico's polluting, even if we stop polluting, it's not going to help very much. So, but I also recognize that within the current moment, we can't extract anything that doesn't function within the world of nation states. And we have to accept that, even though we recognize as an ultimate solution, the nation states have to go. So, and it's only sensible. The planet is now reduced drastically in its dimensions because the ability to travel and first the ability to communicate with the social media, and secondly the ability to travel. People going back and forth the countries as if they were your town, one town over. So the states obviously have been superseded by social reality, but not by political reality. Can you name me a single state in the world that has decided to renounce its borders? You know, well, you laugh at that question, but it's the same thing. Can you name me a single state that supports one state in Palestine? You have to show me a political reality.
Right.
Otherwise, we're talking. As Professor Chomsky would say, it's a graduate student seminar. It's not politics. So, that to me is the only relevant political question.
Interesting. All right, that brings us to an hour. You've been very generous with your time, and I think it's a good place to end it. Thank you again for this. It's been very, very helpful, and I think will be very, very valuable for Canary readers. And I'll send you the article that is produced from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, and to you. Take care.